Okay, why was something not working, or is our normal internet not working? Is our normal Wi-Fi not working, or?
Um, they were hoping you could use the hotspot instead of the Wi-Fi
Okay.
because we don't want to put your personal life at risk.
Oh, I've always just used the Wi-Fi, right? Is that new?
But increased security regulations have asked us not to connect personal devices.
Okay.
This is the name of the network. This is the password. By the way, the student leading us in the pledge hasn't shown up in Zoom yet.
Not in person. I see a kid in person.
The person kid is here.
I guess we're ready to get started.
Yeah.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm going to get our meeting started here. Today is Tuesday, October 17th, 2023, just past 5:30, and we have our regularly scheduled governing board meeting today. Let me see here. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I know one of our governing board members is not available this evening because her high schooler has a college readiness event tonight, so excited for her. That she's able to attend that. And another one of our governing board members will be joining us on Zoom. Thank you for keeping all of us safe as you are battling your own illness, and I am recovering from my own. And I know we're this is a family physician in the community. I'll say tonight that we are seeing the fall and winter surge upon us with a lot of respiratory illnesses. I'm seeing a lot of COVID and other respiratory illnesses in my own practice. And just remind everyone that we have safe and effective vaccines for those who are elderly for COVID, flu, and RSV, and for everyone else, flu and COVID. So please, please, please take advantage of our technology and get yourselves vaccinated to help reduce this fall and winter surge that we know we'll have. With that said, Ms. Barboa, can we please have a roll call?
Mr. Romero?
Here.
Ms. Shaw?
Here.
Ms. Ekstrom?
Here.
Ms. Luna Rose? Dr. Ravi?
Here. Thank you, Ms. Barboa. And we're going to start off with our land acknowledgement statement. Do we have Maya Alvarez? Yes, we do. Great. Amaya Alvarez, thank you for joining us. She is a 9th grader at Tucson High Magnet School. Amaya is a magnet student taking ballet, STEM, yoga, French, and jazz band, while also taking all of her required courses for graduation. Sounds like a very busy 9th grade year. She has been a TUSD student since Grijalva Elementary School and went to Wakefield and Pister Middle School before attending Tucson High Magnet School. She made honor roll her first quarter of high school. Congratulations. And is a tribal member of the Tohono O'odham Nation. Thank you very much for reading our land acknowledgement statement this evening. Go ahead.
On behalf of the governing board of the Tucson Unified School District, I, Amaya Alvarez, acknowledge that the schools, buildings, and facilities of the Tucson Unified School District reside on the ancestral home of the Tohono O'odham Nation and the federally recognized tribal land of the Pasquayaqui tribe.
Thank you, and good luck in this year. You have a very busy year. Make sure you take care of yourself. Do we have our Pledge of Allegiance person? Manny Rojas? Hasn't joined the Zoom union. Okay. So then we don't have the student for the Pledge of Allegiance. So let's ask everyone to rise and we'll do it ourselves here. One, two, three. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dr. Trujillo, we have a couple of agenda adjustments this evening.
President Shaw, members of the governing board, welcome. We have two agenda adjustments as we have our wonderful guests from Camp Cooper with us. We're certainly looking forward to their presentation. I'd like to move them up to immediately follow the call to the audience, as well as the accompanying item 7.1, which would, of course, would go immediately following call to the audience, followed by item 6.1, which would be the monetary award for the Cooper Restroom Project. So if we can move those two items right after call to the audience, that would be great.
So call to the audience followed by 7.1, followed by 6.1, and go
Correct.
back into consent. Any objection? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and make those changes. And Dr. Trujillo, the floor remains yours for your superintendent's report.
Yes, President Shaw, members of the governing board, I would like to welcome our community and all of our TUSD family watching this evening to our first meeting here in October. And hope everybody absolutely had a wonderful fall break and everybody's back and ready to go as we kick off second quarter. We begin with a superintendent's report highlighting one of the most iconic families and one of the most iconic arts programs that we have in all of the Tucson Unified School District. I'm talking about Las Aguilitas at Davis, who are recently featured on Good Morning America. The Valenzuela family and Las Aguilitas Mariachi from Davis Bilingual Elementary appeared on October 6th, caught us during a week where we were getting ready for break to showcase the importance of mariachi music and arts in Mexican culture and the Tucson community for Hispanic Heritage Month, September 15th through October 15th. Dr. Alfredo Valenzuela, who was a TUSD teacher for 40 years, launched the mariachi program at Davis. It is now proudly led by his son, Jaime Valenzuela, who in his own right has taken the program to new heights in both performance and excellence. Jaime said, and I quote, "I am very happy to represent our great school, Davis, our school district, TUSD, and of course, the city of Tucson, Arizona. What makes me very happy is that I got to do this with my family and the people that I love. I am happy to also represent the tight mariachi community here in Tucson." Good Morning America then surprised Las Aguilitas with a $5,000 grant from Guitar Center Music Foundation to purchase more instruments for the program. So please join me in congratulating Mr. Valenzuela, the Valenzuela family, and all of our student performers of Las Aguilitas. Next, it is always a treat when we can highlight teacher excellence in the Tucson Unified School District. Tonight, we do so for Mr. Randy Cueto, teacher at Sam Hughes Elementary. Randy received a significant recognition from the Arizona English Teachers Association at their annual conference. He was named Elementary Teacher of Excellence for 2023 for his innovative teaching methods and passion for English language arts education. His name will be forwarded to the National Council of Teachers of English for consideration for national recognition. Congratulations, Mr. Cueto. We are all proud of you. Let's give him a round of applause. And lastly, it is National School Bus Safety Week, the week of October 16th through the 20th. School bus transportation plays a critical role in the education of our students and the critical role of transporting our students to the places and the people that will transform their lives in classrooms throughout the Tucson Unified School District. Our school bus drivers, our bus drivers, our transportation team, they're also a direct link between the neighborhood community, the district, and the classroom. So National School Bus Safety Week, it's an excellent reminder of the importance of school bus safety and the vital role that our bus drivers and our bus monitors and our transportation team plays in keeping all of our children and young people safe. So thank you to all of our bus drivers, monitors, dispatchers, mechanics, and all of our transportation team members who play a part in transporting over 12,500 students that travel 16,000 miles each school day across 231 square miles in one of the state's largest, physically largest school district. Let's give them a round of applause for all the great work as we celebrate their special week. And as I move past the superintendent's report into some other presentations that, of course, we're going to be having, I want to take a moment to really introduce one of the premier choir programs that we have, not just in the Tucson Unified School District or the city of Tucson, but in the state of Arizona. They are one of the flagship arts programs at one of our flagship schools at Tucson Magnet High School. Tonight, we welcome for your listening pleasure the Troubadours, the Tucson High Magnet School Troubadours. Yes, give them a round of applause. They are a competitive advanced choral ensemble that performs a variety of genres, musical styles, and sings in many languages. They are directed by Chazuro German. Tonight they perform a Renaissance secular song from the French composer Claudine Sermizi. I hope that my French is okay there. Tant que vivre is an example of choral music that gained popularity due to the start of the commercial music printing business. This compositional style became so popular because of its simple choral texture and the natural inflection and syllabic stress of spoken language. The song speaks of joys, sorrows, and hopes of love. Immediately following their first piece, their second piece, is by Pablo Casals, who was a Spanish cellist, conductor, and humanist. O vos omnes, O ye people, was written with text adapted from the translation of the Lamentations of Jeremiah. It is sung in Latin and translated means, O all ye who pass by the way, pay attention and see if there be any sorrow like to my sorrow. And with that, let us turn it over to the Tucson High Magnet School Troubadours for your listening pleasure.
Tant que vivrai en âge florissant, je servirai d'amour le roi puissant. On fait, on dit, en chanson et accord, pas que je vois ma tête languissant, mais après Dieu m'a fait réjouissant, car j'ai l'amour de la pêche encore. Son alliance, c'est ma fiancée, son premier vive tristesse, vive liesse, puisque l'amour attend rien. Puisque l'amour attend rien. Quand je la veux, servie et honorée, quand par écrit, pour son nom décoré, quand je la vois,
And to the troubadours of Tucson Magnet High School.
Hi, my name is Manny Rojas. I was here to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know if there's any time for that.
I'm sorry, Manny, the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sorry, the Pledge of Allegiance happened before you arrived. Yolanda will email you.
That was a great performance, Dr. Trujillo. And they were so well dressed. It makes me feel like I'm in pajamas right now.
They're absolutely amazing. And
Yes.
for those of you, hit up the Tucson High website for more information on the Troubadours and where they'll be performing next. They are pretty good about putting their concert schedules. They are absolutely wonderful to see in concert. We are always blessed at 1010 during the holiday season. It's my favorite time of the year when we get the Troubadours coming into the lobby and Christmas caroling. So they are an absolute joy to watch. Continuing on with the superintendent's report, I'd like to welcome to the podium Dr. Flory Hewitt, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, who's going to share with the governing board and our community a new vision for teaching and learning in the Tucson Unified School District, a comprehensive framework of support and resources, consistency, and effectiveness for classroom teaching throughout the district to make sure that our teachers have the professional development, the training, and the resources that they need to deliver high quality instruction to our students. So what we have is we have a short video for our board members and our community. And then, of course, Dr. Hewitt will be available to provide a very, very high level overview and, of course, to address any governing board questions. With that, Jean?
Welcome to the start of the 23-24 school year at TUSD. The Curriculum and Instruction Division is proud to present our new instructional framework. This framework provides guidance and structure for intentional planning, the utilization of evidence-based teaching practices, and strategies to ensure student achievement and success. Our goal with this framework is to bring consistency district-wide, regardless of location, grade level, or school culture. Our logo draws inspiration from what a compass provides, guidance and direction. It's imperative to note that the TUSD learner is located in the center of our compass. This signifies that our educators will provide student-centered instruction. The outer components of our logo are the 4 main actions which embrace the learner: design, facilitate, assess, and reflect. These 4 actions are expected professional practices to ensure consistency in teaching and learning across the district. In a moment, we'll look at some examples of the action components. But first, let's review learner outcomes. In TUSD, we want our students to walk away with 4 major outcomes: critical thinking, emotional intelligence, communication, and academic preparedness. Possessing these outcomes will not only position our students to positively affect their communities, but will also prepare them for college and/or career opportunities. Possessing these outcomes will allow our students to evolve beyond problem solvers into challenge seekers that are thoughtful and intentional in identifying problems before they occur. Now that we've identified our learner outcomes, let's focus on how to get there. Our learner profile directly aligns with the outcomes. In TUSD, our focus is to shape emotionally intelligent learners that think critically, communicate effectively, and are academically prepared. To build the learner profile, our classroom communities and culture must foster inclusive and safe classroom environments that embrace excellence and high academic achievement. The TUSD classroom creates a positive, collaborative community while utilizing Sparks. Our environment should be safe and accessible to all students through culturally responsive, student-centered instruction. High academic rigor will shape an equitable learning environment through engaging activities which are accessible to all learners. Without this classroom culture, we cannot build our intended learner profile, which means our learner outcomes will never materialize.
This framework helps me to design my lesson by keeping my learning targets and my steps to success just in my head so that I can keep my student outcomes in mind. For me, having this framework in percentages was actually really cool. So I knew, like, if I had 60 minutes, but I need to spend 25% of that on just the actual learning or the facilitating of the lesson, then I knew exactly how many minutes I needed to have. Having like that steps to success, knowing that they need to know that and being able to assess them really quickly at the beginning of the lesson just kind of helps drive everything else that comes after.
If we didn't have the learning objective, it would be hard for us to focus. Basically, my teacher, she said it, and then I had it in my mind and set for like what I need to learn.
Our first angle that we're looking at in our objective, or what we are going to identify, is our right angle.
Turn your body so you guys can see our rec and rec, okay? I need your eyeballs on the beads. I have difficult behavior problems in my class. A lot of that is a challenge while I'm implementing. So I'm using kind of number talk signals, so they're holding a hand to their chest while they're thinking and putting up fingers for when they have answers or more than one answer. Math talks. Thinking aloud, doing all that. Me modeling my thinking, students modeling their thinking, rephrasing students' thinking. I do have the manipulatives, and then I insist that they show me strategies and multiple ways.
We do quick write summaries. As we were doing fractions, they needed division, and so I used division as a quick write summary. And that was really just to practice that skill. And so that's what I'm doing now, is just looking at where are their gaps, and I plug those gaps using the quick write summaries.
Do we just have to do the exit?
Yep, and that's what you're turning in.
Yes, can you show me your strategy so you can be sure that's your answer?
Once you do your work, the exit ticket is the finishing of that little work you do. You write your name at the top, or you'll get a 0, and you have to restart.
Usually I have them bring me the exit tickets to me, and I like walk around grading them as I go because I want to see right away. These are the kids I might pull with the math interventionist to do some extra practice. That's how I use that exit ticket piece and just immediately, okay, I know what the next step is.
I can look at my objective as I'm kind of grading everyone's, and I separate the exit tickets. I score them from like a 1 to a 4, and so I'll kind of separate and see. And if I have a lot of students that are in the 1s and 2s, then I'll look at what did we miss from today's objective. Today, one of the students in her quick write summary said like naming angles was something she still struggled on. And so when I go to look at her exit ticket, I already know that's something she struggled with based on the steps to success. I knew she needed that information, and so I kind of am already anticipating how it might affect her assessment and what I need to do, for the next lesson. This is what you said you were struggling with, right? And so that might be hard for you. But if you go back, you can kind of see how. So if you look back here, this is how they named those angles. Since really looking at a framework like this, my planning's gotten easier. Before having any kind of framework or the strategies that I'm using, there were often times where I would have no idea where my kids were. I was just kind of going lesson by lesson and kind of just saying like, okay, this is how they're doing, and not really having any kind of guidance.
This is kind of guiding to streamline it because it's really difficult. It's a lot. It's like volumes of material that you have to look through. So the framework kind of gives me the keys, like I'm going to get this, 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 and this, and that's what's important, and that's what I'm going to try and bring into my lesson.
The exemplar instructional delivery model provides guidelines for our instructional framework. It describes each component at a high level, and it can be used by our new teachers and our experienced teachers. It includes examples of what activities and actions should take place under each component. The Design and Prepare guidelines are sample actions teachers can take to design lessons that set standards-based learning targets and success criteria for students. For the facilitation phase, we provide 3 main actions that should occur during a lesson. These include activation of learning with a suggested 10% of instructional time, modeling with a suggested 25% of time, and it is followed by interactive practice suggested at 25% of the instructional time. Our framework finalizes the learning cycle with the assess component, where the teacher provides timely, actionable feedback and students practice independent of the teacher and use the success criteria to monitor their learning. This is suggested at approximately 25% of the instructional time. The last phase in the assess component is to assess and reflect, which is the closure of the lesson where the teacher allows time for reflection, checks for understanding, and provides specific actionable feedback on learning. Students use the success criteria to self-assess their progress toward learning targets. We are proud to provide an instructional framework that is aligned to our district's strategic plan, that embraces future-ready practices, and that is for TUSD by TUSD. Providing guidance on expected practices for teaching and learning across our district ensures that no matter where our students are in our district, they can expect a high-quality learning experience. Thank you for your commitment to our students and have a wonderful 23-24 school year.
All right, being at the top of the roof on 1010, that was a little sketchy, but we got it done, so. All right, so I would like to open it up for questions. This is an exciting time. As you heard one of the teachers suggest is a guiding document that provides that structure, that common language that we really needed across our district. So thank you, governing board members, for allowing me to present that framework. It really is to provide that clarity and consistency across our district and to provide guidance, especially for our newer teachers as we involve with the Teacher Development Academy as well. So I'll open it up for questions.
Great. Thank you, Florian. Thanks for really presenting this program and the support that we're giving for our teachers. So what kind of feedback mechanism do we have in place to making sure that all the supports are really working and making the best impact for our teachers it can?
Definitely. So we did have, in the development of this framework, we engaged with a teacher focus group back in the spring to engage in getting that initial feedback. What they definitely didn't want is a very top-down approach. So we really want to make sure that as we implement this, we implement it in a phased approach. So this year is going to be about getting everyone exposed on the instructional framework for the district. What are those main components? What do they involve? And the great thing is that many of the teachers already implement these in their classrooms, so it's very validating in terms of just creating a very clear structure of what a lesson design might look like. So the feedback we're also getting is from our professional development days, and they would like more information, making sure that we provide clear direction on this framework. We would like to pilot the framework in the spring with a few selected schools to make sure that our training is appropriate. Another thing to keep in mind is that we have been very fortunate. This framework is aligned to John Hattie's research. And in terms of the teacher clarity component, we are providing lots of training this year on teacher clarity. For example, how do you set learning targets? How do you identify success criteria to ensure that students are meeting those goals? So it's going to be very structured as far as the implementation and the rollout, because we want to make sure that it's done methodically and with teacher feedback. We also do conduct teacher focus groups. I have an assistant superintendent teacher focus group every quarter, so we're getting that feedback there as well.
I know a lot of our discussions over the last year and a half, especially on English language acquisitions, all about evidence-based curriculums and making sure we have the right professional development and support for our teachers to be as excellent as possible. So I'm so glad to see this program come to fruition, and I look forward to seeing it continue to evolve to really make sure it meets the needs of all of our students throughout TUSD. So thank you for presenting on this evening.
Thank you so
Any
much.
other questions or anything else for this topic? Mr. Romero.
So how long is this process going to take to get to all our teachers?
So we have right now, every professional learning day, we have blocks of training. So we're trying to get all of our teachers trained by the end of the school year on the instructional framework. It is a requirement. So by the end of 23-24, everyone at least should be trained on the instructional framework, understanding each of the components. Then in addition to that, the teacher clarity piece, that's going to be a connection to this training, but it's an added on that we're going to phase it out until the next academic school year, starting this year already.
Okay, and as far as gauging the effectiveness of this, is this going to be based on a lot of our student scores, or how are we going to base the effectiveness of this program?
I think that's an excellent question, and absolutely, I think student achievement is one of those goals. What we need to do is pilot, making sure that as we pilot with a small set of schools, that we really focus on that implementation, the training that goes along with it, the monitoring, and then making sure that the student achievement is evidence of that.
And are we going to be reflective of the different teachers to make sure that they have created this more of a effectiveness? Is it going to be like in a one-on-one at each facilities, or is there someone kind of overseeing, the teachers' progress?
That's a more complex question that we'll have to work with our principals with that to make sure, especially those pilot schools, when we work with them, we do have an observation tool that is aligned to this instructional framework. So right now we're getting baseline data, seeing where we're at, and then identifying where might those gaps be so we can provide appropriate training and support.
And you know what, which schools are the pilot schools?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. And you're going to do it in like elementary, middle school, and
Probably just a few selected schools, correct?
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you for being here. Yes.
Thank you, absolutely.
And Dr. Tree, before you continue, Ms. Borbo, we have interpretation services. I forgot to announce it earlier in the meeting. Tenemos servicios de interpretación disponibles. Por favor, indique con la mesa aquí si necesita servicios de interpretación. All right. Sorry for forgetting that earlier today. Dr. Tree, the floor is back to you.
President Shaw, I'd next like to welcome our language acquisition leadership team. I think we have our director, Pat Sandoval-Taylor, as well as our program coordinator, Ms. Ana Manzano. As you remember, at our last governing board meeting, we wanted to provide an opening of schools update on our two-way dual language programs here in TUSD. And we delayed that presentation for this evening. I'd like to turn it over to our team.
Good evening. Good evening. Board President Dr. Ravi Shah, board members, Dr. Trujillo, and legal counsel. My name is Pat Sandoval-Taylor, and I am the director of the Language Acquisition Department, and I have my awesome colleague here, Ms. Ana Manzano, again, coordinator. And what we'd like to share, just do a quick overview of our two-way dual language program here in the Tucson Unified School District. We are very happy and excited about this program that we have, and we have a different PowerPoint. I think there's a different one, so I'm going to skip through some of the slides. Yeah, we had a revision, but that's okay. I'll skip through the ones that, but so for the sake of time, I will go through these. So let me see if I can. Are you going to try and change it? Oh, okay. All right. Well, in the meanwhile, the first slide that you saw was just the beautiful team of educators that we have that are highly qualified to teach students in a two-way dual language program. And so these individuals, all the way from our administrators to our classroom teachers, again, come with that passion to ensure that students become bilingual and biliterate in our school district. One of the things that our program model shows is that it is an advanced learning experience. And yeah, here it is. It is it's a program of choice for parents, and it is considered an advanced learning experience by our Tucson Unified School District board. The goal is for students to become bilingual, biliterate, and have high academic achievement. And then have those social, cultural competencies, which are the main pillars of the program. It has a clear pathway for students with the goal of reaching that seal of biliteracy that goes on their high school diploma. And that pathway is on the left side of your of the slide. You can see how the students progress through the program again, beginning at kinder and going all the way through high school. They do receive pathway awards as they go through that piece. There's a strong leadership component because we believe that we have to have some strong leaders within the schools and support the teachers, the students, and all the resource staff to ensure kids become bilingual and biliterate. And then the professional development that goes with it is of the highest of quality. We're not just teaching academics, which is very, learner intensive, but also we're teaching language and helping students, again, have ease in acquiring that proficiency. Our classrooms, the goal is for them to be linguistically balanced. That means you have a good makeup of those that are strong language learners, both that dominate English and that dominate the target language, and those that are bilingual, so they help. And there's a positive reciprocal climate, not only linguistically, but also culturally. So they're learning from each other, not only language, but culturally, and they're immersed in it. And then there's a home school collaboration piece as well. Parents make a commitment to this program. It's a long-term commitment by the parent. Parents sign a parent compact, so that it's not just a, hey, I'm going to try this out for a year. It's an investment. We're so proud to, in the Southwest, have the most two-way dual language programs, K-12. You can see them listed here. The elementary schools are Bloom, Davis, Grijalva, Mission View, Van Buskirk, and White. And we have K-8s, Hollinger, McCorkle, and Roscrooge. And our middle schools, McGee, Pister, and our high school is Pueblo. And those, where you see the asterisk, we have a second strand to build and expand the program. And for McGee, this is a new program because our students at Bloom are now moving into middle school. It was our newest two-way dual language program, and those students are now in the middle school, so we've begun a program there. So we're very excited about that expansion. This is part of our TUSD strategic plan in that we want more students to be able to participate in ALE programs. And we had set some goals for the following years to meet the goal for the strategic plan. In school year 2023, our goal was to increase enrollment in our two-way programs by 5%, and we were able to attain an increase of 9%. Our goals were kind of, we had just come out of a pandemic. We had a shortage of qualified teachers, and so we were worried about increasing. And so, but we were happy and pleased to see with that 9% increase. I'm going to let Anna at this point share with you why did we select a two-way dual language program that we have in our district. And so she's going to share with you some of the research that goes along with that.
All right, thank you. So when we look at what the research tells us, we know that there's a large body of research out there that supports the efficacy of our two-way dual language programs. But we wanted to highlight a certain components of that research. We know that there's a large body of evidence that demonstrates that positive correlation between an English learner's literacy development in their primary language and that development in English in their second language. We also know that based on research that English language learners that participate in two-way dual language programming have that long-term success in English language development and reclassification as opposed to our English learners in English-only programming. That data strongly correlates to the largest longitudinal study that was conducted by Thomas and Collier. And what they did is they looked at cohorts of students participating in various language acquisition programs from kindergarten into fifth grade. And what that research tells us is that English learners in a two-way dual language program not only catch up to their mainstream peers, but outperform their mainstream peers. And so when these programs are really well implemented, we know that these are the silver bullets for closing that opportunity gap for English learners. We also know that our programs demonstrate positive outcomes not only for English learners, but for our monolingual English-speaking students as well. This is particularly important for our parents to understand that we know that in the early grades, this is where they start to get a little worried that at the early grades in English assessments, we see that our dual language students either perform similar to or slightly below that of their mainstream peers. But when we look at the long-term success of our students, we know that by the time they get to those intermediate grades, not only are they catching up to their mainstream peers, but they're outperforming their mainstream peers. And so when we look at what the data tells us and how that aligns to what is happening in our programs here in TUSD, we looked at, with the support of our amazing A&E team, we looked at our two-way dual language students in TUSD and our students in our mainstream classes and their performance on the AASA in both language arts and math to see how our student outcomes are comparing to what the research tells us. And we know, we were happy to see that data strongly aligns. We see that our students in our two-way dual language programming in those intermediate grades are outperforming their mainstream peers. We also wanted to highlight, and that was pretty consistent throughout, not just in 5th grade, but throughout. We also know that we want to highlight 3rd grade math, particularly because students are engaged in early immersion, K-1-2, and in 3rd grade, they're taking this English assessment for the first time. And math is taught in Spanish, kinder through 5th grade. And so we see that, again, that data strongly aligns with what the research tells us.
All right, well, that concludes our formal presentation. We brought along some celebrities today to read a little bit to you. And so we would like to, first of all, introduce you to Brad. Brad Weigel is from Bloom Elementary. He's a 2nd grader. And I asked him if he could bring his book today to read. I asked him if it was his favorite book, and he said, it was just the book I selected to read. So he's going to come up. He's in 2nd grade at Bloom, and he's going to share with you a little bit about his favorite dinosaur book. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Brad.
It's going to be so adorable.
Hello, my name is Bradley. Right now I'm going to read you a book in Spanish about dinosaurs. ¿Cómo eligen sus mascotas los dinosaurios? ¿Cómo elige su mascota un dinosaurio? Sale a cazarla por todo el barrio. Va al zoológico y se lleva un tigre feroz mientras su mamá le grite que hacerlo es atroz. Arrastra a un elefante en una carretilla sin importarle que la trompa se le vuelva papilla. Atrapa a un fiero y timble dragón que escupe fuego para llamar la atención.
Muchísimas gracias. Es un dragón que tira lumbre, ¿que no? Okay. Bradley's parents came to the language acquisition department years ago, and they wanted a GATE program, a gifted program for their students. And they enrolled both of their sons in the program, and they are tickled. And this is also Mr. McCullum's grandson as well.
Oh.
We'd also like to invite another celebrity, Olivia. Olivia, come on up. Olivia is Olivia Ali Osman is a 4th grader at Davis, and you might recognize her because she recently spoke nationally on Good Morning America, and she'd like to share something that she selected for you to hear. And she's an Aguilita, too.
Hello everyone. Muy buenas tardes. Today I would love to take this opportunity to read you a poem by Alma Flor Ada, a Cuban-American author. It is entitled Bilingüe. ¿Por qué hablo español? Puedo oír los cuentos de mi abuelita y decir familia, madre, amor. ¿Por qué hablo inglés? Puedo aprender de mi maestra y decir I love school porque soy bilingüe. Puedo leer libros y books. Tengo amigos y friends. Disfruto canciones y songs, juegos y games, y me divierto el doble. Y algún día, porque sé hablar 2 idiomas, Podré hacer el doble de cosas, ayudar al doble de personas y hacer lo que haga el doble de bien.
Hermoso. Gracias. Thank you, Olivia.
This poem speaks to me because se trata de mi vida. It's my life. It's mi futuro. It's my future. Es mi alegría. It's my happiness. Y gracias por su tiempo.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you. If you have any questions, we're here to answer anything. Sorry, I'm a little
Thank you.
speechless.
No, y Brad y Olivia, qué lindo. Muchas gracias para leer con nosotros. Gracias. Any board members, any questions about our two-way dual language program?
Dr. Shaw?
Yes, Ms. Ekstrom, go ahead.
Thank you so much, students. It was so wonderful to hear you all reading in Spanish. It's such a beautiful language, and thank you. Ms. Sandoval-Taylor, I know part of our DSEC case is to expand programs in the district. Are we achieving that?
So we have a completion plan that we have continued on that plight to expand, and on I think it was the third slide. Great question, by the way. I think it was on slide 3. Those schools that had an asterisk on them are schools that we did expand. We'll continue to. We do have a completion plan. It can be found on the DSEG website on TUSD, and it'll show where, what the expectation is to continue to build and expand the programs. But we are on target, and we hope to continue to expand this wonderful program that, again, it closes, as Anna shared with you, it closes the gap for English language learners to not only meet English targets or surpass them. And we're seeing that with our data in TUSD. So thank you.
I do see that. So most elementary, when they're done in elementary, we only have like 2 specific middle schools. So do you see an expansion into more middle schools?
Yes, well, currently the newest program is a middle school, and it is McGee. We definitely, I think that as we look at our plans, we look to see where enrollment is and where the need for more of our 5th graders to go. And it's an excellent question because we worry about that path, that clear pathway and that clear structure for our 5th graders to be able to go into a middle school. So yeah, that's something that we have to look at more closely. We want to ensure that schools like, for example, Ross Scrooge are able to take in those middle school students that qualify. And if we need to, vet another middle school, we would like to do that.
Okay, thank you. I was at Hollinger and Pister and McCorkle, and I could have spent all day in a dual language class. It was just so beautiful to see the kids light up and learn. So thank you so much. I am fully in support of this program.
Thank you, Ms. Ekstrom. Thank you so much.
Ms.
Any
Shaw.
other questions? Yes.
Thank you. No question, but I just want to thank the students here today, Brad and Olivia, for your...
And to their parents for bringing them. Thank you.
Absolutely. The parents and all the teachers who helped them learn Spanish. You speaking here tonight really shows us the incredible impact the two-way dual language program. And so I just want to thank you for your beautiful words tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw.
One last follow-up question with everything here. So everyone who is in the two-way dual language program has elected to be there. No one is defaults into it. No one is forced to be. So this is truly a parental choice issue in terms of making sure parents have the choice and right to select a two-way dual language program for their students. And we're seeing better academic achievement for those students as well. So I'm glad that we're able to offer this for our families here in Tucson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you, Dr. Shaw.
All right. Thank you for your presentation this evening.
Thank you.
Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, and to round out the agendized items for the superintendent's report, we have some good news for the financial outlook of the district. The recent Fitch ratings report had a substantially better outlook for the district financially, and we just want to go ahead and review that for the board and the public. And we've got our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Ricky Hernandez, here to do just that.
Good evening, board members. I apologize. I'm following them with this.
Can you do this in
but
Spanish?
I can do it in Spanish if you'd like,
No.
but I think that would be troublesome for some of our audience members. On a personal note, my first job in TUSD was in the language acquisition department as a data tech. So I've known Pat for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but I'm here to give you an update on our Fitch ratings. So Fitch ratings are, so for those of you who don't know what Fitch is, Fitch is one of our largest, or they're one of the three big rating agencies. If you want to think of these as kind of the credit agencies for businesses, the public sector, when it comes to our debt. So just as us as individuals might have credit ratings by like Experian or Equifax or TransUnion, and we all know we love them, credit agencies or rating agencies are kind of our counterparts. So you've got Fitch, Moody's, Standard & Poor's. Those are the ones that are, that everybody tends to use. What do they do? So like I mentioned, they assess the creditworthiness of all entities, governments alike, and all the financial instruments we issue. For the most part, bonds, debts, all of that information that we put out, or all of that debt that we put out into the public sphere, they use a rating system that goes from AAA to D. This is the rating system. That rating system is specific to Fitch. Moody's and Standard & Poor's use different rating systems and different methodologies for determining our rating. So how does Fitch specifically determine our rating? So they look at three factors: creditworthiness, risk, and quality. And I won't go through all of the different elements, but they look at everything from our financial performance to our governance. So they took a look at our board and our district leadership. They take a look at the history of the district and how have we been able to manage our finances in a good way. They also take a look at external factors: the overall community, the tax base, whether it's contracting or expanding, the incomes of the community members that make up TUSD. So they don't just take a look at us internally as an organization, but they take a look at the externalities that affect us. Our state legislature and the way that they fund us as well is another kind of complicated factor that goes into determining our specific rating when it takes a look at these three large elements. So what is the latest action? So the Fitch affirmed our most recent rating of a BBB+ and issued an A rating for our outstanding bond debt. So the rating outlook for TUSD currently is a positive outlook. So from a historical perspective, over the last 4 years, we have maintained a BBB+. In 2019 and 2020, though, our outlook was negative. So they felt, based on the information and the factors that they saw in those 2 years, that we were not headed financially in a very good path or a solvency path, right? That there were factors that we needed to change, that there were things that we needed to improve upon in order to basically turn that around. In 2021, the outlook was actually revised to stable. So, Fitch saw that our community, that the district as an organization, that our financial capacity actually made a turn in a good direction, that they said, okay, you're headed in the right direction. We still see things, challenges that lay ahead that you need to overcome, but we don't see you as going in the wrong direction or in a negative rating. So they looked at us as stable. Last year was the first year they moved us into a positive rating. So the positive outlook is the first time since the bond of 2004 that we actually have had a positive outlook. And that means that we have the capacity to manage our debt. We have had the capacity to build up sufficient reserves in the district. We manage the revenues that we do get, whether it be from our local tax base or the state legislature, in a wise way. And we take into account those external factors, whether it's changes in enrollment, changes in state aid, all of the kind of the different components that might actually be detrimental to us, and we have the ability to weather those. Now, they did issue a couple of what are called rating sensitivities. So what are some things that might actually create a better upgrade, that might upgrade our rating, or might change our outlook even better, and what goes in the opposite direction? What is negative? So some changes that would increase, that would actually change our rating in a good direction would be the improvement of our fund balance and the fund resilience. Our fund balance as a district, as reported in our annual financial statement, has exceeded $50 million. And it's been $50 million for 3 years and growing. We have been able to increase revenue through different sources of funding. Roman, not particularly one of them, but property taxes and state funding over the last couple of years obviously have led us in the right direction. And if that type of revenue growth continues into the future, that could certainly lead to an upgrade in our rating. Now, what could cause our rating to degrade, to go into negative territory? If we reduce our financial reserves, if we start spending dollars that, even though they're available to be there, are not sustainable. One of the biggest things, obviously, that we invest in is staff, is personnel. And, so being able to really be thoughtful into our financial outlook, into, our 5 and our 10-year outlook to say, is it sustainable to provide the types of investments, whether it be in staff or infrastructure, and then can it be maintained without actually affecting our financial reserve, to reduce our flexibility to manage our finances, during the lean years. Also, the reduced expenditure flexibility because of enrollment declines or because we're dipping into contingencies. So we know that we've experienced enrollment declines over the last several years. They've mitigated significantly in the last 4 to 5 years. But nevertheless, every student that we don't enroll is the loss of state aid, compounded by the fact that if there are no increases in state aid, as we foresee will probably not happen in fiscal year 24 or fiscal year 25, it will exacerbate that. So we need to kind of be mindful of the fact that there are trends, sometimes beyond our control, that we need to take into account as we develop our financial planning. So what does it all mean, though? The BBB rating just it shows that we have a low long-term liability burden. We've been able to manage our debt. A lot of that obviously has to do with the fact that the district has not had a bond issue in 20 years. And so our debt has been very limited, and we haven't been able to issue any new debt. The positive outlook just looked at improved funding climate. The one great thing that happened last fiscal year was that we did receive an 8% increase in state aid. And so now that 8% increase will be basically the new norm in terms of how we receive additional future increases in state aid from the state legislature. We've done a better job of putting together a financial cushion. We have a contingency fund policy that this governing board has adopted. We have maintained. We exceed the 1% contingency both in our general fund and our capital funds. And it also will generate tax savings. So in the long term, if in the event that we are able to issue debt, we're less of a risk. People are actually willing to pay less on their return in terms of interest. So when you think of it because we're capable of being responsible with the money that we do have, people are more willing to invest at a lower cost. That translates into tax savings to our taxpayers, who ultimately are responsible for helping us pay our debt. So that probably is one of the most significant components of maintaining a positive outlook with a BBB rating. The last thing I will say before I end is the BBB plus rating is the highest rating you can achieve before you move into A territory. So this is, the fact that we've been able to maintain this, we've weathered this BBB plus rating through the COVID years, and we've been able to come out on the other side fairly strong, is definitely a great, it's a great review of the district's financial stature in the community. So with that, I will take any questions if you have them. See, not as exciting as two-way dual language, I'm sorry.
Or dinosaurs.
Or dinosaurs.
Great. I don't see any questions, Mr. Hernandez. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Great news, Dr. Trujillo.
Great news, and that concludes the items agendized for the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you. All right, next on our agenda is our call to the audience, and I'll turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Mr. Romero, our clerk, for leading us through our procedure.
Public participation at board meetings. Meetings of the public, members of the public may speak during the call to the audience. The governing board clerk shall be responsible for recognizing speakers and for maintaining order where it may be appropriate. Those who speak in person or want to have their comments read shall email or call the board office or complete a request to address the board form before the meeting. Speakers who have not completed a request form are not permitted to address the board. The speakers must state their full name and topic prior to addressing the board. Speakers are encouraged to be brief with a maximum time of 3 minutes. While more than one speaker may speak together in the time allowed, speakers are reminded that they are not allowed to speak more than once, and they may not transfer or delegate their time to others. If there are documents for the board, please give them to our board office staff, and they will ensure each board member receives a copy. Those attending the meetings and or speaking before the board shall observe rules of good conduct. Speakers should also refrain from any inappropriate or slanderous remarks. And because TUSD serves students from preschool through high school, speakers should be aware there may be children present and listening. At the end of the call to the audience, the governing board president will ask if any board member wishes to respond to criticisms, wish to ask staff for a review of a matter, or wish to ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. No more than 2 members may address each topic. Contents of this card are public information. And first up, we have Dr. Elizabeth Roberts.
Good evening. So I'm Elizabeth Roberts. I'm speaking in support of items 6.1 and 7.1 in tonight's agenda regarding the Cooper Center. Can you hear me okay? Up? All right. I've been a STEM and environmental education person in Tucson and the greater Arizona area since 2008. I've been a member of Cooper as a researcher and now as a volunteer. I've just lost my speech, so here I am to tell you that Cooper Center is amazing. Cooper Center is considered one of the gems of the district, as I hope you know. It has brought, with the partnership with the University of Arizona, it's brought the power of environmental learning to parents, teachers, and students, not only TUSD, but in Southern Arizona. It serves as a place where many children get their first introduction to the desert, especially those children who live in the inner city. And I've had the privilege of watching their faces as they get off the school bus and go, oh my God, what's going on here? And then after about an hour, we have to go and fish them out of the cactus because that's where they all want to go. So speaking extemporaneously, which I'm not great at, I would like to say that I do appreciate all of your support towards the partnership. I also appreciate your support and continued support and want to advocate for the facilities, in particular the fact that we're trying to build sustainable restrooms at the center, which has 2 points. One is that they look more expensive. They are more expensive on the front end, but we have to remember how much money and resources we save on the back end. And if you need convincing of that, just look at the Tucson water bill and how much money you save when you have a composting toilet. And I know because I installed a composting toilet in my house about 20 years ago, and I had a lot of people giving me side eye for it until I actually got them in there to use it. And then all of a sudden they realized, well, this isn't too bad. Why would you do such a thing? And because this is saving amazing amounts of money and resources. And then they go out and they install composting toilets. So can imagine the power of this facility that we've got the design approved, and now we're looking for the funding, obviously, to install it. And it's going to make an incredible difference because as educators, well, is that me?
Time, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Wendy Goodman, followed by Chelsea Bruce.
Dr. Shaw, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo, all of the departments who've presented today, I've got a connection to in TUSD, so I'm very emotional. But I'm here today to talk about preschool because that's what I've been doing in TUSD since 2005. I've taught in TUSD for 40 years, 18 in preschool, and I hold teaching certificates in both general and elementary and early childhood special education, as well as hearing impaired education. And I want to first say that I want to recognize TUSD's commitment to our preschool programs, including the recent year's expansions of our programs, the bonuses we got last year as teachers and paraprofessionals, which were never expected, the classroom makeovers, which make us look like people really care about preschool when the parents walk in, and the move to a 7-hour teacher assistance in all of our preschool programs that need them. TUSD has a strong history of successful, nationally acclaimed Title I preschool programs that made powerful connections with our students, their families, and the Tucson community. As a matter of fact, I was hired into Tucson Unified School District in January 1983 by Cecilia Avalos, who was the creator of that PACE program and carried it for many, many years. As part of that, we were able to demonstrate over decades that well-designed, child-centered, developmentally appropriate preschools increase academics, student retention, and lead to higher graduation rates. That historical data is accessible to all of you. I'm not a district historian, but it's all there somewhere. When we first entered this century, TUSD began to endeavor to merge two different programs, the special education and the mainstream preschool programs, looking at that equity of voice, equity of opportunity. And at one time with the PACE program, there was a very collaborative effort and teachers were very involved. But on our way here, and under prior leadership, I should say, preschool programming decisions were being made unilaterally by administration. The models changed annually, including the year that the preschool staff and families learned that they were coming in back to back. It was unfeasible. We couldn't do it. And so what we're asking is that you remember now that TEA has formed a preschool committee. We want to work together with you. We want to establish a process of involvement of the preschool staff in all decision-making going forward regarding preschool programming. Thank you very much.
Chelsea Bruce, followed by Bruce Johnson.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Bruce, and I am a previous TUSD early childhood educator and current TUSD preschool parent. On May 25th of this year, Miles preschool parents were informed that the preschool program our children had attended for the last year and longer would change come August. We were provided with little information. I want to clarify that this was not the fault of Miles staff, but communication from district administration's part. We later had learned that district administration had been meeting with staff, and staff were told not to discuss the potential changes with parents, and that they would have the 2023 to 2024 school year to digest these upcoming changes and communicate future changes to parents while maintaining the integrity of their current program that was often sought after. However, on May 25th, this changed, and teachers, along with parents, were informed that the changes would occur on August. We had a parent forum, and it felt very much that it was just to quiet parents and our concerns. We had concerns of communication, concerns of staffing, concerns of student needs, including pressing health issues, and concerns about taking our children from teachers that they had become familiar with. Additionally, we were informed that no one had applied for Aaron Duncan's position, and later found out that there were TUSD employees who had applied. Additionally, parent emails were shared throughout the district, with one parent learning their emails had been sent to their boss when they were just merely advocating for their medically fragile child. August came around, and the change for creating a sole community school class came, but without proper staffing. Interviews did not begin until 2 weeks prior. I know I was on the interview committee. And the day before school started, we were informed that the 7:30 to 5 p.m. Time would change to 8 to 4:30 p.m., decreasing hours with an increase of cost. It's now October, and I can assess how these changes have impacted my child and his peers. Although his new teachers are caring and kind, and he is safe with them, they use a prescribed curriculum from the district. There is no student-led, nor is there teacher-led education occurring. His explicit learning time has increased, and developmentally appropriate play-based time has decreased. And we no longer have twice-a-year parent-teacher conferences, decreasing the parent-teacher partnership on the student learning process. Overall, I speak for a group of parents that are very disappointed with how this was handled. Change is inevitable, but the change was abrupt, and parents' concerns were dismissed.
Bruce Johnson, followed by Sheila Scanlon.
Hello, Dr. Shaw, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. Bruce Johnson, I'm a professor emeritus and dean emeritus at University of Arizona College of Education, and I'm here to talk about Camp Cooper. I was very heavily involved 15 years ago when we established the partnership between TUSD and the University of Arizona regarding Camp Cooper. And so I've been working with Camp Cooper staff since then. I'm now volunteering out there. I help the staff with programs, program evaluation, professional development, and so on. So I've been very connected to Camp Cooper for a long time. But the first time I went to Camp Cooper was actually 45 years ago, when I was an undergrad student and visited Camp Cooper in 1978. And I was incredibly impressed, even in those days, with this really unique opportunity for children in Tucson to really experience the Sonoran Desert firsthand in really interactive ways. And those opportunities for those kids have just increased enormously over the past 45 years. What I see going on out there now is so much more than it was then. So there are many more professional educators working with children. There are more children. There are more varieties of programs for different ages. So there's a lot of great things happening. But the buildings are pretty much exactly the same as they were 45 years ago. And some of them are simply falling apart, which you'd expect after that long. So we have this tremendous opportunity to improve those facilities. And it's just really critical, because the improved facilities will enable Cooper not only to thrive as it is, but to continue to grow, to offer more programming, more variety, more students, but also to bring in some income from facility rentals. So I urge you to think really carefully and be supportive of Cooper's request to be able to go after this renovation project. Thank you.
Sheila Scanlon, followed by Pamela Francis.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to speak to you today. My name is Sheila Scanlon, and I am a National Board Certified AP Environmental Science retired educator who specifically, when I first moved back down to Tucson, when I was a kid, I became an environmental educator because of Tucson. And I am telling you and standing here as an educator to tell you how important Camp Cooper is. From the standpoint of children, when they come and see the beautiful desert for the first time, coming from an urban environment they don't understand, they live here their whole life. When the kids come out to Camp Cooper, all of a sudden a whole world opens up to them. And I'm glad Elizabeth talked to you about the toilets, because I'm not going to. And I'm glad Bruce talked about how the facilities are run down and aging. I don't want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about my vision that I see for the expansion of Tucson, which is a mecca for people who care about the environment. I have colleagues across the United States. I work with the College Board. I'm a table leader and a reader, and I create the rubric for grading the tests. I'm in the upper echelon of environmental educators across the country. I can tell you in a heartbeat, my friends would love to pay good money to come to an updated Camp Cooper with more modern facilities. When I was teaching an hour and a half north of here, I had to look for places to go to take my students on field trips. We went to Catalina Island, and that was a hassle. I tell you, in a second, I would have chosen Tucson first to bring my kids down here and have an overnight experience at Camp Cooper. I'm telling you right now, it's a diamond in the rough, and it's a gold mine for TUSD. This is an opportunity for your district to help support the effort on the part of the director and the board to get this place modernized so that then it will be a world-class environmental education center if you let it. Thanks for listening.
Pamela Francis, followed by Tara Radliff.
Mary, you might need to help me. I'm always the shortest one here. My name is Pam Francis. Good evening, Dr. Trujillo and honorable TUSD board members. As a member of the Cooper Science Center Advisory Board, it is an honor to be here tonight to thank you for the district's support of Camp Cooper over the last 60 years. And also to celebrate the success of this incredible treasure we have all collectively been entrusted with to oversee. Since it had been 30 years since my last Cooper field trip, my Camp Cooper field trip, I tagged along with some fourth graders last April. In addition to the Cooper Center educators clearly being prepared, well-trained, and very professional, to my delight, they quickly revealed themselves as superstar teachers underneath their big straw hats, engaging kids with contagious excitement. There were so many ideas popping during a Desert Biology Connections activity that it could not possibly be described as merely a nature lesson in an outdoor setting. The activities received very enthusiastically by the students, and the classroom teachers told me that the kids would talk about the trip for days. One teacher shared that a 10-year-old student announced that his day at Camp Cooper was the first time he had ever been out in nature, ever. And there were plenty of kids who had never seen cactus up close. It was a proud day for me to watch the magic happen firsthand. Beyond the exceptionally talented teaching staff, and the incredible opportunity for urban kids, there is that old real estate saying, location, location, location. Our program's evolution has been quite a journey since our namesake, Mr. Herbert Cooper, so fortuitously, and some might say fatefully, set sight on those gorgeous 10 acres 65 years ago. The property was not just an undeveloped section of land on the west side, but one nestled next to what would become a national park, named for the universal symbol of the American West, the saguaro cactus. I estimate that over the years, 150,000 students have explored the trails found at our beloved site. I think Mr. Cooper would be happy with the direction the district took. He appeared to be a forward-thinking man, and 60 years later, I'd like to believe he would approve of our plans and the dreams they hold. UNESCO singled Tucson out because our food story dates back 4,000 years. Our weather and beloved desert roadways have made us an elite cycling mecca. Our dream at Camp Cooper is that with updated facilities, we could become the premier environmental science and earth studies hub of the Southwest. Our site could potentially host national environmental organizations for overnight conferences. And thanks to our crucial partnership with the U of A College of Education, our successful teacher training model could be shared with environmental studies teachers nationally, even internationally, for generations to come. And with your support, we could turn Camp Cooper,
Thank you.
Camp Cooper Center into a TUSD main attraction. Thank you. Good evening.
Tara Radliff, followed by Henry Schneiker.
My name is Tara Radliff. I'll be speaking about the student surveys policy. I want to thank Val Romero and the board for hearing what I said and acting to correct an issue I brought up at the last board meeting regarding the governing board policy LCA, Administration of Student Services. With that being said, I want to again address another item in the student survey policy that I believe is even more egregious than the one that was acted upon during the last meeting. Policy LCA is about student surveys and the parameters to which they will be given. That is why I am having trouble understanding why, in the parent notification section, it speaks about non-emergency invasive physical examination or screening. What do these types of exams have to do with student surveys? And why is it an opt-out policy only? Will a one-time notice be the only notification parents will receive regarding invasive exams of their children? What if a parent does not see this notice and does not know that they can opt their child out? For clarification, the policy states, invasive physical examination means any medical examination that involves the exposure of private body parts or act during examination that includes incision, insertion, or injection into the body. Can you explain what will be inserted or injected into the children, or why the children will have to expose a private body part? I understand that there are some exams that are required for attendance. However, these should be the responsibility of the parents and done at the child's doctor's office, not a school health center that is funded and managed by the CDC. What if a parent does not agree to certain exams, but the CDC mandates it 2 months into the school year? Will you be sending out notices so that every parent has informed consent regarding an invasive exam that will be done to their child? There is a reason there are age limits on such things as alcohol use and driving. Children do not have the emotional or psychological capacity and knowledge gained by experience to make potentially life-altering decisions themselves. This is precisely why parents should be notified of all exams and have informed consent. Any exam at a school that is invasive should be opt-in only. This will preserve the rights of the parents. I urge the board to address this issue as an agenda item so that there can be a discussion involving TUSD parents and community members regarding invasive physical examinations of children in this district. I also urge the board to reword this policy so that these types of exams are opt-in only and uphold TUSD parental rights. Lastly, in 1954, Congress added the words "under God" into our Pledge of Allegiance. These words are not an opt-out option. Thank you.
Henry Schneiker, followed by Betts Putnam, Hidalgo.
Board members, my name is Henry Schneiker. My son attends Doolin Middle School. Early in the school year, my son was issued a notebook computer. The school requires that the computer be taken everywhere, as there's no safe place to store the computer when it is not in use when my son is at school. Thus, the computer was brought home for safekeeping and to complete an assignment. I helped my son get the network configured so he could access it using the school's notebook computer. When my son tried to complete the assigned homework, the system said that work could only be completed between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. It was now early evening, so my son was excluded from doing the homework that evening. Morning is a busy time with breakfast and getting ready for the day, so there was no time to complete the homework at home. The first issue is, why was there a time restriction on when homework could be completed when it was supposed to be done at home? On subsequent days, my son was requested to do homework that required researching. He needed help, so I took a look. I was appalled to find out that TUSD requires my son to use Google tracking and sites that are full of advertising. Google is famous for collecting all sorts of information about what you search for, where you go on the net, and many other types of information. The business model of Google is to build a detailed profile of all users and then to sell that information to any interested party. None of that collateral information has anything to do with teaching my son at TUSD. There are other browsers and search engines that do not constantly spy on users, such as the Brave browser or the Brave search engine. Okay, why is TUSD not protecting the students? Why is TUSD using software that tracks the students online? The recommended free sites display lots of ads. For instance, if you look up a word, which was required to do the homework assignment, there are typically 2 ads displayed every time you look up a new word. TUSD should recommend sites that do not display ads, and those sites should be bookmarked as part of the computer setup. Then there is the issue of visibility. I have no visibility into what my son is doing for classroom assignments because you do it in various other places.
Time.
Okay.
Thank you. Betts Putnam Hidalgo, please.
Thank you. It's Betts Putnam Hidalgo.
Oh.
That's okay.
We need those kids back
common
up.
error. So I'm speaking tonight on an issue that I know that is not really within the board purview, but frankly, I cannot think of another public space where I can make this comment where it might get to the people who can make a difference. The bond, the secret bond. The secret bond that TUSD desperately needs and that I really, really support. There are a limited number of huge signs all over the place. All 3 of you have run a candidacy, and you know that you put little signs right near the schools, every single school, even the ones not in the city, in order to get your name out there. I don't know who's handling your campaign, but I have some suggestions for them, and that's one of them. Do not believe the campaign literature that says, that goes out to people who run campaigns, that says that signs don't matter. I would propose, Val Romero, you basically papered the city with your signs, and here you are. And so if we really want that bond to get passed, I'd like to see the city papered with signs. I would also like to see South Tucson get literature, but the campaign is apparently being run out of an office that is running a city campaign. So they're not doing any work in South Tucson, in the far west parts of our district, in the far east parts of our district, anywhere that is not within the city. That's a big mistake in my view. Nobody knows where to get literature if they want to. I happen to know what the campaign office is, but nobody else does. When I talk to friends who are in support of the campaign, they don't know where to get literature. The Spanish translation on the literature that you have is pesimísimo. I'm sorry, it's one sentence. It's basically vote yes because you trust us. Doesn't say anything about what does better schools mean. And as far as I recall, the literature doesn't include that incredible website that you guys have, TUSDbond23.org, that shows what is going to happen at every single school. That is essential information for voters to have, and I don't see it on any of your literature. So for once, I'm not coming to the board to dun the board, because I know you do not run this campaign, but I'm assuming that you can get in touch with the people who do. I can't. There's an incredibly slim website when you go on the campaign literature website, and there isn't anywhere where you can contact people, and there isn't any home location that I recall. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Anyway, go bond committee. Please do what you can to get the word out. It's not a secret.
All right. Yolanda, looks like we had one to be read.
Yes. Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Trujillo, legal counsel, board members, and everybody in TUSD. Thanks to all for your hard work. My name is Guadalupe Henninger. I would like to speak in regards to item 7.2. Before I start, I would like to thank our TUSD Superintendent, Dr. Trujillo, our legal counsel, and TUSD board members, the administration, principals, teachers, students, and their parents and legal guardians for their heroic hard work. In spite of the fact that the Arizona GOP-led legislation refuses to fully fund our public schools and refuses to invest in preschool, childcare, and before and after school childcare. We also have a GOP Arizona State Superintendent who, along with the GOP-led legislation, refuses to abide by the Every Student Succeed Act passed by Congress in 2015, which did away with the punity nature of the No Child Left Behind Act passed on 2002. In 2010, the GOP legislation decided to adopt Common Core. It was not a mandate, they chose to adopt it. Underfunded and short-sighted by nature, it had a devastating effect in our education system and the upward trajectory of our students. Before No Child Left Behind and Common Core, we had an education system that got everybody potential regardless of race, ethnicity, capability, or social level. The Arizona Ames was the only true measure of how students were performing, but in 2015, the GOP legislation got rid of it. Any elected official who makes decisions behind closed doors without we parents, teachers, and students is unconstitutional and merely unconstitutional under Arizona law. Since 2016, they have asked parents and teachers to comment on standards, but they had been symbolic because they have decided to keep the fundamentals of Common Core regardless of parents' and teachers' comments. The Common Core fundamentals are the reason our schools are failing. We need to bring back the Ames, not as a requirement to graduate, but a way to build strong foundations on basic reading and writing. As long as we have the Common Core fundamentals, our schools are going to keep failing. The GOP-led legislatures and the Arizona State Superintendent need to abide by the rule of the law and the Every Student Succeed Act. We need to call our House members and tell them to pass a budget to fully fund our schools, to invest on preschools for all, to invest on before and after school care. We the people need childcare so parents and caregivers can work and help our economy thrive. Investing on clean air, clean water, nutrition, job training is good for our economy. They say addressing the root cause takes time, but in 2021 and 2022, the U.S. Democrat House and Democratic lead U.S. Senate make big investments, childcare, education, and every part of our society who is affected by the pandemic. We need to elect decent, law-abiding officials who have...
And this concludes a call to the audience.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Governing board members, an opportunity for us to respond to any comments, ask for items put on future governing board meetings. Mr. Romero, then Ms. Shaw.
So I guess this goes to legal, Rob Ross, on that policy LCA. Is there a way we, or at least I, can get information on that, what she's referring to, and possibly look at policy review on that?
I'll be happy to provide that to the board. I will just say right here that that's specific language from federal law, the PPRA.
Thank you.
Ms. Shaw.
Thank you. And thank you to all the speakers for their work in our district and their advocacy. Let's see. Well, to piggyback off of Mr. Romero's request, I'm interested in adding to a future discussion policy LCA so the public can be aware of all of that information. Also, if staff can review the matter discussed by Mr. Henry Schneiker about the completion time for the homework of 7:30 through 4:30 p.m. seems really outlandish. I don't know how any parent or student can complete homework with those parameters. So if we can review that and see about just taking off those time restrictions. And then would like staff to review the recommendation by Ms. Putnam Hidalgo about safety issues with the signage. Let's see, and just thank you to all the speakers who came and advocated for Camp Cooper here today. Thanks.
Dr. Shaw?
Ms. Ekstrom, go ahead.
Dr. Trujillo, would we be able to ask Bream about the issues Call to the Audience spoke about for preschool, or does that need to be put on another agenda?
That would probably be another agenda item, but we certainly will follow up and provide the board all the details of the staffing challenges. I will just say as a general response, it's been a challenge to hire preschool teachers. It's an area of the shortage that's the hardest to address, and it's extremely difficult also to hire parapros. And as we've seen in like X-Ed, and as we've seen with in the bus driver ranks, when you don't have the staffing, you have to unfortunately close classrooms and move staff around. In the case of bus drivers, close routes. It's very, very difficult, but we honor our parents. That's not their challenge. They are concerned about their kids, their classroom, their teacher. So I want to honor that frustration that we heard at the Call to the Audience and get the board the details behind the programmatic adjustments.
And if we could also include how teachers are approached and if they are able to give their advice on how programming works for preschool, I would appreciate that too.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ekstrom. I'll add, thank everyone talking about Cam Cooper. I think a lot of you are speaking to the choir when it comes to really talking about the amazing work that's been done in Cam Cooper. I'm looking forward to the presentation, Colin, that you'll be giving in a few minutes about the amazing work that Cam Cooper has done. I know my sixth grader, when she went there a year and a half ago, and during her fourth grade year, that was one of the most amazing units that year, her environmental unit, and that made a big impact for her. I can't wait for my kindergartners to get there in a couple of years as well. So we all know as parents how important it is to keep the momentum going with our environmental work and the work that Cam Cooper is doing. So I look forward to hearing more about that in a moment. And is Henry still here? If you're listening, thank you for your advocacy. I have a middle school student as well. When you bring up things like locker rooms in a previous meeting, we are actually going to be talking about that because, not locker rooms, excuse me, but lockers in the hallways and storing of items. And so I appreciate your advocacy. You're kind of reflecting a lot of what a lot of other parents like myself are thinking about why are our students carrying all these items all the time and making sure everything makes sense for logistics on the ground. So thank you for continuing advocacy on that. Ms. Shaw.
Thank you. I forgot to mention the preschool thing. I'm very happy to see that TEA has formed a preschool committee, and I would like staff to provide us with a recommendation from the TEA's preschool committee before anything in regards to our pre-K programs comes to the board.
All right, thank you, Governing Board, and thank you everyone for your comments tonight for Call to the Audience. We're moving to item 7.1, Cam Cooper Annual Update. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, we're proud to welcome Colin Waite, Executive Director for Camp Cooper, to give, we like to bring Colin, try to bring him at least once a year to give an annual update to the board. Camp Cooper is our premier outdoor education opportunity for students, and we always look forward to welcoming him and his team. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Waite.
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo, and thank you, board members, for this opportunity. My name is Colin Waite. I have had the privilege of working at Camp Cooper for 20 years. I started as a teacher's aide, and unfortunately, when you work in one place for too long, they put you in charge. And so my main work now is administration and fundraising. I'm also the proud parent of a Gridley 7th grader and a University High School junior, and the spouse of a University High School math teacher. So TUSD through and through for our family. Just to provide a little bit of a recap of what this is all about. Since 2008, Camp Cooper has been a partnership between Tucson Unified School District and the University of Arizona College of Education. We are currently under an intergovernmental agreement that started in 2019 and is through 2039 with regular opportunities for review and discussion as needed. The district's responsibilities are specifically related to utilities and facility maintenance at Camp Cooper. It is a TUSD facility that is operated through the University of Arizona College of Education. And so all of our staff for programs are College of Education staff members. And 80% of our programs are reserved for TUSD students under the IGA. And so we are open to other schools and other educational programs, but the bulk of what we do is specifically focused on TUSD. I'm just going to leave this here for a minute to think about. The average American child only spends 6 minutes a day outside. If we are to inspire our next generation to take care of our planet and take care of where we live, outdoor time is essential. It makes them happier, healthier, better prepared to connect with each other and engage with our world, and it makes them more empathetic and more successful in the classroom. And so giving our TUSD students optimum time outside at school and at places like Camp Cooper is essential for their success. The things that we focus on at Camp Cooper, in addition to connecting children with nature, are providing these opportunities and equitable access to the outdoors for children in need. As a Title I school district, we are working with children and families who are not necessarily going out and having the opportunity to recreate in the Sonoran Desert with their families. They may not be able to attend Saguaro National Park or the Desert Museum or other outdoor venues. And so providing this opportunity as a part of their school experience is giving them something that they may not otherwise have access to. We also provide a safe space for students and families of color and students with disabilities. And all of our programs have been made accessible and adaptable to any needs of our students. And again, getting kids outside and providing a desert experience is allowing them an opportunity to enhance their school experience. It's providing real world context, not just in science, but in reading and language arts, in physical education, in the arts, math, social studies. We connect all of those subject areas into our experiences at Camp Cooper, and classroom teachers do the same. All of our programs have 3 key elements. We teach basic ecological understandings that are tied to grade level standards. And so we are providing these opportunities for them to learn the foundations of how the Sonoran Desert works. We are tying that in with emotional connections to nature. If they love where they are, if they love being outside in nature, they're more interested in wanting to learn about it and take care of it. And so that emotional piece is huge. It's breaking down anxiety and fears related to being outdoors in the Sonoran Desert and turning that into love and appreciation. And then we want them to take what they've learned and what they've experienced and turn that into some sort of sustainable action or impact. And so we want them to make changes at home and at school that allow them to live a more sustainable lifestyle. It could be turning off the water when they're brushing their teeth. It could be something bigger like trying to get my teenagers to take shorter showers, or it could be spending more time outside. And so we want them to do something with what they learn and what they experience. Over 140,000 Camp Cooper alums since 1964. More than 3,000 kids served each year, and more than 2,000 of those are overnight experiences. And again, this is open to all Southern Arizona schools with that focus on TUSD. I want to also take the opportunity to just say thank you to each of you as board members, to our great TUSD leadership team for their constant support of our work at Camp Cooper and in helping us to improve our programs and to improve our facilities. We receive all sorts of in-kind support from different branches of Tucson Unified. I tried to list as many of them as I could think of here. Everything from administrative and finance support to technology, marketing and communications, facilities and operations do a huge amount of work at our facility, as well as our programmatic support. This past year was an incredibly successful year for us. We opened a new preschool program that is so popular that we're having a waiting list at this point. And so all of the research around connecting children with nature shows that you want to have children connect with the environment as young as possible. We, several years ago, pre-COVID, met with teachers in a focus group to find out what type of an experience they would be interested in at Camp Cooper. And we've been able to pilot that over the last couple of years, and now it is an integral part of what we do at Camp Cooper. In the 2022-23 school year, We saw 66 field trips during the year with over 121 classrooms coming out. We served 2,520 students and also went to 7 schools for offsite programs. Of those experiences, we served 36 different schools in TUSD with 53 individual TUSD field trips, which is 80.3% of our total trips, meeting our expectation with the IGA, and 1,725 students in TUSD. You can see that our students number are slightly less than the 80%, and that's just because our school groups were smaller from TUSD than from outside groups and other schools. And so that is a goal for us, is to increase the size of those field trip experiences, to have more classes coming with each of those trips so that we see more students served. This is our amazing team. We this year have 6 full-time education staff, including our 2 program coordinators, Brittany and Mariah. We also have a marketing specialist full-time, and myself as director. All 7 of the individuals, with my exception, are funded through philanthropy and program fees. And so the only thing, and I'll show the finances here in a moment. My position is funded through the College of Education. The other positions are funded by the community. Here it is, magic. So just a quick breakdown of our financial expenses. Program revenue is a very small part of what we do, and that's because we need to keep our program costs very low to allow Title I schools and students to participate. In fact, much of that program revenue number is also tax credit donations from Camp Cooper supporters to our TUSD schools to allow them to participate, because we do not want cost to be a limiting factor. And if we need to offer our programs for free to allow a school to participate, we do that. We've been lucky enough to have tax credit dollars to cover those costs. We've also got our TUSD maintenance and utilities outlay listed there, the College of Education's expenses for my salary and benefits, and then the amount that's coming in from philanthropy, which is by far the largest chunk. For this coming year, our focus is on successfully onboarding 3 new educators and our new marketing specialist. That has gone really well. We are in, I think, week 4 of field trips for this year, and our new team members have really hit the ground running. Mr. Romero had the opportunity to come out on our first field trip day with Dietz, and I invite all of our governing board members to come out for a field trip program sometime in the year. Dr. Ravi, you might get to come out as a parent, it sounds like. Our goal is 3,200 students this year, which would be a significant increase, with at least 2,600 of those being TUSD students. And I can say that our field trip calendar is almost completely full through April and the beginning of May, and that we are on track to exceed those expectations. We want to see more TUSD schools represented. 36 is not a big enough representation across our district. And so I've been working with administration and principals to reach out to schools that have not participated recently to make sure that their teachers are aware of our programs and know about the opportunities we have. We want to see more opportunities for U of A students, faculty, and staff to participate in our programs. We do U of A student internship projects. We do program research and evaluation with Dr. Johnson and others. And we want to have the U of A community embrace Camp Cooper much in the same way that TUSD have. We are in the process of right now working on restarting research around our 3-day Earthkeepers program and looking at it through the culturally responsive lens. And we've been working closely with the CR team at TUSD to evaluate our current education programs, to do professional development with our staff, and to look at our curriculum and incorporate CR practices into what we offer. And then we're also working with community partners to offer more professional development opportunities for our current and prospective educators. We are hosting for the first time a PLD session with the GATE program at Camp Cooper on October 25th. We are also hosting preschool programs and nature journaling workshops later this year. And so we're well on our way to providing extensive PD opportunities for teachers. 2024 is Camp Cooper's 60th anniversary, which is a really huge deal for us. As I mentioned earlier, we have over 140,000 alumni, but many of those experienced Camp Cooper and have not necessarily had the opportunity to reconnect with us as supporters of what we're doing now, either as volunteers, as donors, or being able to share their Camp Cooper stories and memories to allow us to be successful. And so we will be very visible in the local community this year on doing public events to reconnect with large numbers of alumni and have them share those stories. We are going to be working with our marketing and communications person, the college, and then also we'll be talking with the TUSD team to see about how we can get Camp Cooper out there and really celebrate in a big way. Our biggest events will be Earth Day in April, and then also a culminating event that we're thinking about styling Camp Cooper Homecoming probably sometime in October or November of 2024. And so we will have a lot of things going on that we'll be excited to share throughout the year. May of this year, our goal is to be breaking ground on our new sustainable bathrooms and showers. We've been working on this project since 2019, since the most recent intergovernmental agreement was put forth. And due to the pandemic, we have seen many challenges that have delayed this project and caused it to become more expensive. Our current bathrooms are nothing to write home about. 4 toilets, 2 urinals, and no showers for groups as large as 60 kids and 20 adults. And so it is our limiting factor. The number of students that we can have on site, the size of our groups, the size of our programs is dependent on our ability to renovate these bathrooms. It will always take more time for an entire class of elementary school kids to use the bathroom than it needs to as part of our field trip programs. Our new facility will turn the existing building, which is on the left of this diagram, into a shower house so that we can do more extended programs and also have the opportunity to rent the facility to groups when we are not doing educational programs. And the new building, which is to the right, will consist of unisex individual stall composting toilets designed by Watershed Management Group, an incredible resource here in Southern Arizona, so that we can demonstrate sustainable practices with our experiences at Camp Cooper. We will also feature rainwater harvesting. We will feature a solar shaded outdoor classroom space, which has been generously funded by Tucson Electric Power. And we will do gray water systems that will take the recycled water from the end of the showers and use it to grow shade and vegetation around our facility. We've had initial designs developed by architect Swaim Associates, and we've raised over $1.9 million from private donors and local foundations since 2019. This construction project does not lead to any outlay of construction costs for Tucson Unified School District. This will be funded through private philanthropy and the potential to be funded by the bond should the bond be successful. Costs have increased significantly since the pandemic, and so even though we've raised $1.9 million, our expectation is that the cost exceeds that amount. And the initial phase, this is the initial phase with bathrooms. Future phases to renovate and upgrade Camp Cooper involve sleeping cabins, our indoor classroom space, and our kitchen space. So here is why we're here this evening, and what we are about to bring before you is we have been working with Damon Ballesteros and the TUSD operational team to look at our construction plans and designs, and we request the opportunity, because our project is over $1 million on a TUSD property, to work with the TUSD contractors, the JOCs, to review our construction plans, to look at our designs and see if there are opportunities to lower our costs before we go to the construction phase. We want to be able to do that here between now and the end of this year in December. Our goal is to work with a JOC to negotiate a guaranteed maximum price for improvements at Camp Cooper by January of 24, and then to come back before you in February with a goal of approving a construction project with that guaranteed maximum price so that we can move forward and be breaking ground in April or May of this year. We will do project preparations off-site during the spring while field trip programs are still happening, and then we expect to do that groundbreaking at the end of April with construction beginning after programs starting the week of May 13th. And so this is our goal. Our expectation is that the construction project will take 4 to 6 months, and so if it's on the short end of that, it will not impact our educational programs, and we'll be able to begin our season as planned. If the project does take longer, we will have to delay the beginning of our programs, but summer is our best opportunity to limit the impact on our programs, and these facility improvements are essential for our future. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Wade. Dr. Trujillo, is there a separate presentation on 6.1, or is there any additional information on 6.1? Or is all the information will be presented to us tonight?
All the information regarding the bathroom project will be presented in 6.1.
Okay, so it's a separate presentation, okay.
It'll immediately follow Mr. Wade.
Okay. Governing board members, anything on Mr. Wade's presentation this evening before we go into the project at hand? Mr. Romero, go ahead.
Real quick, Colin. Again, I appreciated the opportunity to visit on the first week. I learned so much about Camp Cooper, and it's a phenomenal little place that, like I said, needs some love. But you had kind of mentioned, like I think last year, 36 schools were out. Is there a major reason you think, other than maybe not all the teachers knowing you guys are a resource out there, or what things have you heard why more schools are not going out to Camp Cooper?
Thank you. I think that's a really important question. I've been working really hard to try to find the right answers for that. What I'll say is that a field trip experience is a big ask for classroom teachers. And so you need parent involvement, you need administrative support from the principal and from the other people that are involved at the school. And so I think it's important to work with teachers so that they see the value of the experience. We work really closely with the Curriculum and Instruction Department and the TUSD Communications Department and the administrative teams, the assistant superintendent's offices, to make sure that all schools know that Camp Cooper is an option for them. But it is seen as this additional thing. And so I think it's important to realize that our teachers are extremely busy, extremely overwhelmed in many cases, and they may not feel like they have the resources or the support. And so when I go in and talk about our programs with teachers, we're really quick to share that we've got 6 full-time, highly qualified educators that run the programs. And so if the teachers are able to get them there, we're going to be able to provide everything that they need as far as support goes. And I do think that, we've been doing as much as we can to show that there is not, even though on paper there's a cost associated with our programs, we do everything in our power to alleviate or remove that entire cost. Of the $24,000 in program revenue we had last year, I would like to say about 11,000 of that was tax credit dollars that funded those opportunities for TUSD schools. And so we're talking about almost half of that is, again, raised for the teachers. And so it's an ongoing process. We're always pounding the pavement and visiting schools and getting into PLD sessions to try to advertise.
And I know for me, one of the things, I was there for the visit for you beforehand, and then I actually walked with the kids as they went and they learned, and I got to hold a spray bottle to keep them cool. And just the reactions and, like was mentioned, the wow that some of these kids get, or don't get too close to that cactus, or just watching them. I was 2nd grade, just watching them just be involved with this. And yes, I'm at the end of it. Oh, it's so hot out here. I think if more teachers knew the benefit that this gives, and I think that's what we need to focus at, this is a benefit for their kids. It's not going out of the way. I know they're busy, but this is a phenomenal learning experience. And then one other thing, just being in construction, we talked about the guarantee maximum price, saying things like that in construction, because you don't really know. Sometimes the unforeseens, sometimes they inflate those numbers just to make sure that they're not caught with holding the bag and not having it come out of their pockets. So I just know that's kind of a slippery slope. I understand what we want to do. Here's the max we're going to do. But is there something where, hey, this is our proposed budget, but we're guaranteeing it won't go past this because of unforeseens? That's just kind of, I don't know where it would come in the language, just something that I would see, just because I can see them inflating that number right from the get-go.
Well, our goal, I share that concern. And one of the things that we've talked about as we've decided on this process is by working on reviewing our designs with the contractor, our goal is to reach a mutual understanding of what the expected cost is going to be so that we're not surprised by what that GMP might be. And I can also share that in addition to the funds that have already been raised and the potential opportunity with bond funds, we do also have an opportunity with existing donors to raise additional funds. And we expect to be in a position to meet whatever needs there might be associated with the GMP. We've been through an open bid process. We were not in a financial position to be able to accept those bids previously, and so we think that this is our best opportunity for success.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romero. Any other board members? Excuse me. Ms. Shaw, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. My daughter had the opportunity of visiting Camp Cooper in this last school year, and she thoroughly enjoyed herself. She wasn't able to spend the night. So is your facility open at this moment to like overnights or?
Yes, it is. So last year, unfortunately, we had some challenges with fire safety systems in our sleeping cabins. And so we were not able to offer overnight programs last year. Those challenges have been addressed on a small scale to allow us to have overnight facilities this year. But I think this is an excellent example of some of the challenges we face with a rundown facility. One of our call to the audience speakers brought up the point that taking care of broken things is sometimes more expensive than building something new and taking care of that. We're certainly starting to experience that with our cabins, with our bathrooms, and with other things related to the facility.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Ekstrom, anything you want to add or any other questions you have?
I would just like to say my daughter did go to Camp Cooper last year as well, and she had a terrific time. And I'm looking forward to visiting as soon as I'm better. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Dr. Trujillo, we'll move on to the actual proposal then. In 6.1.
President Shaw, members of the governing board. Number one, I want to thank Colin for coming and sharing all the wonderful things going on at Camp Cooper and the goals for this school year, and ask him now to kind of hang on as we consider item 7.1, or I'm sorry, item 6.1, approval to use a request for qualifications for general contractors in excess of $1 million for the Camp Cooper restroom project through the generosity of the University of Arizona, who will be proposing the utilization of donor funds in the amount of $1.9 million. Upon governing board approval this evening, the full amount of $1.9 million would be allotted to the bathroom and the restroom projects and the upgrades that Colin described in the project. Here tonight to answer any questions on timelines or details of the proposed construction or the procurement process to secure the JOC, we have our director, Diana Kierfoot, director for purchasing, as well as our coordinator for construction projects, Damon Ballesteros, to handle any questions if you would like to come on up.
Great, thank you. And while they're coming up, Dr. Tria, just confirm that there's no TUSD money coming out, nothing from M&O, nothing from capital. This is all from grants and other sources of funding.
That is correct. The only potential portion of TUSD funding that would come would be through a successful bond effort. There is a slice of funding in that bond that would go to Cooper for additional upgrades. Obviously, the electorate has not spoken on that issue yet, so at this time, it is purely these funds, which are donor funds being proposed and allocated to the district by the University of Arizona through the IGA.
Great.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Shaw, Governing Board, Dr. Trujillo, Council Ross. So again, I think as Colin mentioned, and really defined the process and the next steps that we're going to go through. I know a question came up regarding the GMP. So our process that we plan to use in cooperation and partnership with our procurement department is utilize our job order contracting groups that have been vetted through the process. The goal is to, in the sense of the GMP, we want to partner with our first JOC and basically sit down and go through a value engineering process of the entire set of plans. And in the value engineering process, you partner with the contractor to find cost savings that may not be evident in the initial bid. So basically, we would be going through and setting up a meeting with the contractor to go through a full day of evaluation and review of the plans, take a look at cost benefits to the process, things that can be value engineered, designed or constructed in a more cost-effective manner, and that's how we would come up with a GMP, as opposed to in the normal process, plans go out and a GMP is mentioned without that partnership process. There's no value engineering process that is done in an initial GMP with that type of project delivery, which is more so in a design build. We're more going through a construction manager at risk and JOC process to where we're partnering with the contractor to value engineer the plans to see where we can get cost savings to really bring that GMP down.
Go ahead, Mr. Romero, then Ms. Shaw. Or Ms. Shaw, go ahead.
Thank you. Let's see. Well, my first question, and I'll start with a comment, is so my daughter's dad is a woodworker, and so he actually supplies a lot of his wood shavings to many compost toilets around the city. And so my question is, what material do you plan on using for the compost toilets? Is it like wood shavings? I know there's other materials that you can use, but yeah, what are those materials? Where will you get them from? And also, what are the plans for the compost once it's all ready? What are you going to do with it?
All excellent questions. And so I apologize for not knowing exactly what the material is that we're going to use for those toilets, but we'll be working closely with Watershed Management Group on the training necessary to manage the composting process, and then also the removal process once it has processed. That's a lot of processing. And so our plan is to actually use it to grow shade around the camp. And so if you've been to Camp Cooper, we don't have a lot of larger shade trees. We're outside, our temperatures are getting warmer, and so we want to have more outdoor space with shade. And so we'll be using that compost material there. We also work closely with the U of A Compost Cats, which is a student-led organization based out of the Office of Sustainability. They have created a composting demonstration garden at our facility that we use as part of our educational programs. And so we'll be working closely with them on the maintenance and the utilization of those materials as well.
Cool. Thank you for that. And then once everything's all said and done, would you be interested in like offering residency programs for like scientists or like artists at Camp Cooper once the facilities are up to par?
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think there are so many opportunities that come along with a renovated facility. And certainly this is just the first step, but I do feel like we're in a strong position to complete our master plan goals and to be in a position to do things just like that. I appreciate those ideas.
Mr. Romero, go ahead.
So again, another end result of doing this is creating an income source from people that want to rent the space and things of that nature. Is that money that goes directly then to Camp Cooper for Camp Cooper projects and things of that nature? Does it go part with the district? I'm not exactly how that works.
Yeah, yes, and so the way that all facility rentals go through the TUSD rentals office, and so a percentage of those funds are specifically designated for improvement and maintenance projects at Camp Cooper, and then the other funds go into the district's rental funds. And I apologize for not knowing exactly where those funds go. Damon can speak to that.
Yeah, so the rental funds go into a bank of funds that get shared throughout the district for all of our rental properties for improvements or any types of renovations that may be necessary. We utilize those funds for those improvements at those sites that are being rented.
Thank you.
Great. Seeing no further questions, I'll move the item.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? Item passes 4-0. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing the new toilets and compost and all that fun stuff.
Thank you.
I was going to ask Dr. Trio whether to replace one of our student performances with a compost toilet demonstration in some opening a board meeting, but maybe not.
There we go.
Okay, thank you for all that. We're really proud of Camp Cooper and the work that's being done out there, and I really appreciate the really great team that we have supporting the students and the work and the environmentalism and everything that comes out of the Camp Cooper experience. So that's really great, and thank you so much for being here tonight to support Camp Cooper. Next on our agenda, we're going to head at 7. Oh, no, we have our consent calendar to do. Dr. Trujillo, consent calendar items 5.2 to 5.11.
Yes, President Shaw, members of the governing board, I would like to present for consideration of approval the consent agenda items as recommended, item and arranged, items 5.2, items 5.11.
Thank you, Dr. Trio. Are there any questions or clarifications from the board members? Any of the items? All right, are there any extractions? All right, I'll move items 5.2, to 5.11. Okay, item moved by myself and seconded by Mr. Romero. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Item passes 5-0. And remember to vote online, governing board members. And then we move on to 7.2, TUSD pre-K and community schools opening of school year 23-24 schools update.
And Shaw, members of the board, I'd like to welcome our director for early childhood education and before and after school programming known as community schools to the podium to give an opening of schools update on our preschool programs, our PEEPS expansion through the county, and of course our before and after school programs. Mrs. Kiewit?
Good evening, distinguished board members, Dr. Trujillo and legal counsel. As stated, I'm here to give you guys an update on our programs. So it has been a great start to a great year. We have all but 2 of our certified pre-K teacher positions filled, only 3 TA positions to fill, and overall this is the best we have started a school year since the pandemic. It brings us much joy and hope as we continue to steadily rebuild our department. We still do need to hire for the Shoemaker Infant and Early Learning Center, about 3 or 4 staff, and we can always hire lots and lots of staff for our after-school programs. And we continue to, every Wednesday we conduct department interviews, and so we're staying on top of it and doing our best to recruit quality candidates. But we are really very excited to have so many of our positions finally filled. It has been a few years as we've started to recover from the pandemic. And with that is also our enrollment, which has been increasing steadily. This has also been the best year with our enrollment numbers starting a school year since the pandemic hit. Overall, and these numbers, since I submitted this, the numbers have increased. So we have 1,505 infant, toddler, and pre-K students enrolled in our department, and we are servicing a total of 1,934 students in our infant and early learning centers, our preschool programs, and our before and after school programs. So our goal is to increase that by at least another 400 to 500 students. I always like to remind everyone where we have our KidCo partnership sites. These sites provide after-school programming at the schools and have been very successful, and we're very appreciative of KidCo and our partnership with them. These are our before and after school sites. Our goal right now, so Dunham and Marshall have very low enrollment, and Dunham is a site that we're still having difficulty hiring for our after-school programs to reopen. So our focus right now is to find staff to reopen Dunham. But right now, we are transporting students from Dunham after school to the Marshall after school program until we hire quality candidates to be able to reopen that program. And that hub model has really helped ensure that we're giving students access to after school programming. We're very excited to share that we are expanding our PEEPS preschool program. So this year, we opened Bonias and Safford, 2 sites that did not have a preschool program. Safford is fully staffed with 1 teacher and 2 TAs. All of our 10 classrooms, including these 2 new ones, have a class cap of 18 students. Bonias has 1 teacher and 1 TA, and we are hoping, we just offered a position to another TA that we recently interviewed. We're hoping that we will be fully staffed in that classroom as well very soon. We have 180 slots to fill for those 10 classrooms, and we have 164 students currently enrolled, and we are still enrolling. So we will be enrolling in all of our programs all year long. So our tuition programs have been self-sustaining, which is wonderful. We're very happy and excited about it. We have our PEEPS programs, our budgets are good with our partners for another couple years, and hopefully there's talk of extending that. So we hope to secure that funding next year or the year after so that they continue. And then we have our Title I ex-ed funded programs. In my department, we oversee the Title I budget. So it's a braided funding program. Ex-ed has about half of it, and we have half of it. And I do want to focus a little bit tonight on the Title I budget because I want to be transparent that I'm a little nervous about the future of our Title I budget after having some meetings. And I think it's really important that the board, Dr. Trujillo, and everybody knows and understands what those concerns are. We have had wonderful increases in wages the last couple of years, which I fully and completely support. My husband's a teacher, I was a teacher, best friends are teachers, TAs across the district and across the country. However, we also have a fixed budget, or like I like to tell people, fixed income, and we have to be able to survive on that fixed income. And with the increases in pay, we had to reallocate funding this year to cover payroll and benefit increases for the last couple of years. So for example, we had to reallocate funding from instructional supplies, technology, repairs, PD to cover those expenses for payroll and benefits. We moved $48,670 from instructional aids, books, and supplies for our 50 classrooms and went down to $7,000 for the year. We went from $62,000 for those same 52 classrooms for furniture to $0. So I would say about 90 to 95% of our budget is strictly to cover payroll and benefits. And we're good. We'll make it work. We have grants and Quality First, which I'll talk a little bit about, that help cover that. But if we have any unforeseen increases this year or next year where we can't figure out a way to cover those expenses, it could result in closure of our preschool programs and staff and teachers having to be, DIT'd or, losing their positions. So again, for transparency and to advocate and to make sure everybody has the facts, I think it's important that you have that information and that if there are increases that we do it in a way that allows me and my team and finance and grants and so on to find a way to cover those expenses first. So our department has been working on a strategic plan to model the district strategic plan. We've revised our vision and mission. We've created values. This is absolutely still a work in progress. We have sent surveys to every employee in our department for feedback as we move along this process. And we will be holding forums to ensure that all stakeholders have a voice and that their feedback is provided to help inform our decision making in setting those strategic goals and timelines and so forth. We're very excited. We feel it brings a sense of professionalism to our department and ensures that we have a plan moving forward in terms of our goals. We've also, in that same process, updated family and staff handbooks, which very much needed it. We have Quality First. We participate in a program called Quality First that is funded through First Things First, which is a voluntary coaching and rating system for child care centers. The rating system is very intense and focuses on elements such as quality of care, adult-child interactions, learning environments, and staff qualifications. For sites that are rated 3, 4, and 5 star, 5 being the highest, and we have quite a few, you receive scholarships which can be used for tuition, supplies, field trips, and so on. The paperwork for us and the families is very time-consuming and a lot of work. But I am very proud to say that we have filled over 250 of those scholarships and continue to do that, to add to that every week. This has always helped supplement our Title I budget. However, Quality First through First Things First, the board is considering cutting funding to these scholarships. So we're a little nervous about our future and the unknown. We rely heavily on this and the loss of these scholarships could seriously impact families who need a scholarship to attend our program and could negatively impact the quality programming and offerings of our programs. My team and I plan to attend any and all future FTF Quality First board meetings to advocate for the continued funding of these scholarships, but just did want you to be aware of that information. As you have heard, we have invested a lot of grant funding so that every classroom, pre-K classroom across the district has new updated classroom furniture and environments. We've had classroom renovations. We've installed playground structures, shade structures, sheds for storage have been installed. Our teachers and staff in all areas of our department are doing amazing and beautiful things. I am very proud to be the director of this department. I invite you all to visit any and all preschool classrooms when you are on your site visits and observe the amazing teacher-student interactions, the curriculum, the engaging lessons and experiences. And I also ask you to visit our after-school programs and see all the amazing work that they're doing, providing safe and engaging quality programming after school to our families. This concludes my formal piece of the presentation. Please let me know what questions, comments, or concerns you have.
Thank you, Ms. Kiewit, for the presentation. It's great to hear some good news coming from this program, and we know that this is going to mean good things for the community when we have more kids enrolled in preschool educational opportunities, and hopefully sticking around with TUSD for the long run. You know, I still see all the headlines about the looming cliff and all the issues with the workforce for early childhood education and childcare and all that. So I'm pleased to see that we've been able to fill nearly all of our positions coming into this year. So great job to you and then all the recruiters and our HR team for their work on that. And hopefully we can mitigate some of those cliff issues and really have this continue for our community here in Tucson.
Thank you.
Governing board members?
Dr. Shaw?
Yes, Ms. Ekstrom, go ahead, and then Mr. Romero.
Hi, Reed. Thank you for being here. So I see that we have 164 students enrolled in the PEEPS classrooms. How are we getting the word out there to have the other 16 filled?
Yeah. Yes, so we do have a few students on a wait list that we're getting to. So we do think that several of those will be filled in the next couple weeks. We're definitely working as fast as we can. And I have had a meeting with the Director of Communications to continue to help with a recruitment plan, to continue to spread the word for all of our preschool programs. So they are currently working on a plan to present how they're going to help us with those efforts. We've also worked with principals to ask them to be, so for example, one of our sites was quite under-enrolled at the beginning of the school year. They didn't have anybody on the wait list, so we reached out to the principal who sent messages through the parent communication system. They had the preschool teachers were amazing and volunteered to attend the beginning of the year, like open house, and immediately they were able to recruit like 10 to 15 families. And so we went from being really under enrolled to almost having a wait list. So we're kind of assessing where we're at, and we're going from one site to another, brainstorming strategies with principals and teachers to help recruit.
Okay, because in my day job, I do outreach for Pima County Community and Workforce Development, and I will say that parents coming to our tables at various events are always looking for childcare preschool. So we are also getting the word out that way. And then Dr. Trujillo, with the concerns of budget for preschool, how are we going to address that?
Yeah, that's a major issue. We are concerned about the first things first challenge. I think when we're talking about those tuition-based programs, and it's a good thing that we raise wages for our employees. That's a thing that we want to do. We always want to offer the most competitive salary and compensation packages possible for all of our hardworking employees, especially our preschool teachers. But the difference with preschool, we don't receive any state funding for kids in preschool. So that has to come directly from the tuition that parents pay. And we don't ever want to be here talking about increasing tuition, but that's the position that we would be put in terms of that kind of loss of funding. And the same position with Title. Title is probably one of the premier funding sources that we see to sustain preschool programming. And when that takes a hit, it's difficult to make cost accessible to parents. So we're going to be counting on Reem and her team to try to look at other grant funding options available to be able to soak up whatever impact that we see from a reduced Title I capacity or the looming and unfortunate loss of scholarships through First Things First funding.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Reem.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Romero.
You had mentioned some after-school programs with KidCo, and I was at Wheeler today, and I know they have one with YMCA. Are there a lot of other schools that have partnerships with YMCA's for their after-school programs?
Not too many, no. Most of them are KidCo. I know Davis has their own program. I know last year a lot of principals chose to use some of their ESSER funding to pay teachers to have some after-school programming. But outside of that, it mostly is our department and KidCo.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you very much for the presentation this evening.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Dr. Trujillo, future meeting agenda items.
Yes, President Shaw, members of the board, we're back here next week, and we're excited. We're going to be hearing from our human resources team about new goals for the school year and some of the improvements that we're working on in the HR department. We're also bringing back the policy GBEF, staff use of digital communications That one has been out for public comment. We're excited to hear what the public says about that one. And then the governing board will be considering its meeting calendar for governing board meetings happening in the year 2024. A chance for our board members to look at availability, add extra meetings, make recommendations to staff. So we'll be busy next week.
Thank you, Dr. Chair. Anything else from our governing board members? All right, I'll call the meeting to adjourn. Thank you very much, everyone in the audience, and have a great evening.